Hey everyone, it is Monday morning, meaning it's time for Motivational Monday. My name is Christopher Donnell, and I'm here with my good friend Adrian Calhoun, the director of Hope for Good and former youth pastor, now a licensed clinical therapist.
Almost a licensed professional counselor.
Yep. All right, so a lot of different roles that you've had in your life.
Lots of hats.
Yes, and so your season at Hope for Good is actually coming to an end. Mm-hmm. We've done a few segments with you on Motivational Monday, especially when you first started to create awareness and share your vision and dreams for Hope for Good. And in the middle of your tenure there to update people on things that are happening, how to get involved. Mm-hmm. Real quick, remind our folks what Hope for Good is. If they've forgotten, hopefully you haven't, but yeah, what's Hope for Good?
Yeah, so Champaign Hope for Good is a faith coalition that happens throughout Champaign County that unites churches, community organizations, governmental agencies, as well as businesses to help meet needs of people and to get people connected to resources. And ultimately, we hope that by meeting a need, whether it's a physical, material, whatever resource need, that people will be connected in community, and especially to be connected with the church. Studies have shown, and I've shared this before, that people who are connected to a faith community have better overall mental health outcomes, which obviously is very close to my heart. And as a result, we want to see people to be able to be not only the best they can be, but the best that God has called them to be.
Yeah. That's awesome. And as I mentioned, your season is coming to an end. It's almost been 2 years since we started this. Believe it or not, we made one of those videos 2 years ago almost, when we first started this whole thing. And it's because God has called you into the next season, which is to be a counselor. And you're not going far. You're staying in the community. You're staying connected. Hope for Good will have a new director going forward in 2023. And that's awesome. So, let's reflect back on your journey to Hope for Good, though. So, when you think about Hope for Good, what does that embody to you? If there was a word that you held on to, if there was something you saw in action through this that you also expect to continue, what is that?
Yeah, so I know it's kind of cliche,
it's not.
Hope.
Yeah.
And especially having been part of the church, having been part of the community here, before and now after my position in Hope for Good, one of the biggest things that I have observed people needing, no matter whether you're a child or a person towards the end phases of your life, one of the biggest things you need is hope, and to notice that you're not walking this journey alone. When we first started Hope for Good, it started of a coalition of anybody who was willing, and just being able to see that the gospel is so much bigger than one church or one organization or one person. That what it means to be light, to be hope in Champaign County, means being able to meet people where they are. And so it's been an amazing journey to be on, to be able to get to know the body of believers who are here in Champaign County, to be able to inspire and to instill hope that it's not just about continuing on for another year, but in fact that there is major change and positive life happening here. And we realize too that Champaign County is a good place to live, but we also realize that it's not a good place for everyone all the time. So it's challenged our thinking to be able to see what are some of the gaps that we don't usually see. Who are some of the people that we don't typically hear? And how do we address those things as neighbors, as friends, as in the church, as co-laborers in Christ? How do we go about making a difference in, we like to use the term kingdom, and not to be colonial or anything like that, but really just noticing that when we talk about community, we're talking about all of us.
Right.
So growing in awareness, growing in grace and in truth, to be able to see, as we're very blessed to be in Champaign County, in that there are a lot of resources for people here.
Yeah.
Amazing people who work in the governmental agencies, the community agencies here, but even as we know, there are sometimes just those gaps that can't be filled on a governmental level or agency level. And it's been amazing to see how the church has been able to step up and fulfill those areas.
Fill those needs.
And beyond the need, just to be a presence and to be a light. I hope well beyond my time in Hope for Good, when people forget that I was ever here, that the church would be seen as the church that they say they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I think about how the collective of churches has been building since I've been in Champaign County. I've seen churches working together and extending, arm in arm to this is not just a Methodist problem. This is not just an Episcopal problem. This is not just a Vineyard problem. This is not just a Baptist problem. We live in a community that has a lot of people in it and various needs. And they're all not going to be met by one church. But when you lock arms with fellow believers of the good news, Jesus Christ makes a difference in your life.
It does.
You begin to see change happen.
Yeah.
And it's not always instantaneous, and it's not always maybe what you hope it looks like, but being obedient and locking arms and making steps towards that mission does reveal fruit.
Right.
And I've seen it in Hope for Good and how it's grown. And what you would say the coolest thing that you've seen happen in Hope for Good would be?
Yeah, so one of the coolest things I've seen is we've had between 30 and 35 churches be involved, as well as, actually, I'm sorry, let me take that back. It's actually around 40 churches and around 30 different community organizations who are saying, hey, we see that we're not the only answer to what is going on in Champaign County. And we want to be part of the solution. We want to, whether it's being overtly very invested, or it's more of we have a working relationship. Noticing that all of us have meaning, all of us have value. There's no church too small, no organization too big to make a difference here.
That's right. Yeah. So 70-ish churches and organizations. I mean, that's not been a normal thing for churches in the past. Businesses working with churches, organizations working with churches, churches working with the government agencies, and that has not always been a normal thing.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Right.
And I'm always amazed. I shouldn't be. I asked you this last time about succession rates of needs being completed. When you'll send out an email, basically that's what it's come down to. You're connecting all these organizations and resources and saying, all right, here's these needs. Now you 70 folks, what are the answers, right?
Right.
How can we do this? And it's always amazing, no matter what the need is, whether it's a twin-size mattress or a gas card or a trip to the hospital or a doctor. I mean, you name it, I can do this, or no, I can do that, or I know who can do this, and the connections and this back and forth that's happened. So what's the succession rate that you've seen for? So if 10 needs come on your desk, what does it look like? How many of those needs get met?
I'd probably say of 10, probably 8.
That's awesome.
And there's been some really cool things that Hope for Good has been able to offer the community. And I think in our last segment we did, we talked a little bit about Care Portal. And I can say now we're at the place where I think we have somewhere between 10 and 15 roughly churches who are responding in our county. And we just started with Care Portal this year.
And that was the pastor at Myrtle Creek is helping?
Pastor Tom Walter is is our ambassador for Care Portal. And as a result of that, we're rivaling some of our surrounding counties with having responding churches who have been at this a lot longer than we have. And so one of the life-changing stories that was shared was we had a request for a vacuum, and was a mom who had kind of come to the end of things, and couldn't take care of things at home, couldn't take care of her children, and was just really at her wit's end. And our friends at Job and Family Services said, "Hey, that sounds like a care portal request. We should put it on the care portal." Well, within the day, the need was met by a church here.
Wow.
And the mom, who had just about given up, because of having that good faith of $80 to $120, however much it was, saw that there was hope. That, she didn't have to do life alone. That there were people who would care enough to even provide a vacuum.
Right.
And I love to see 40 years from now how a vacuum could transform the trajectory of that family.
Sure.
But it's little things, it's big things. We have some families that we're partnering with who have very critical needs of taking care of their kids to be able to keep them in their home. And we've seen churches working together, whether it's physically on the job site or providing resources. And one of the things that I enjoy the most about Hope for Good is that Champaign County is at a place that, regardless of whether it's in governmental circles, on agency level, or on the faith community level, we're seeing that need and same heart, regardless of whether you're a believer or not, that we need one another. And if there's going to be someone that answers the call for the needs of Champaign County, it's not going to be someone who is off in another city or in another part of the country, but it's going to be us.
Right.
And that we need one another for that reason.
Yeah. Which kind of rolls into really the heart and soul behind Hope for Good, is that people matter.
Yeah.
Right? Regardless of your socioeconomic status,
right,
color of your skin, what your household looks like, you matter.
Yeah.
And you matter to God, you matter to the church, and you're seeing it even over, you matter to the community, the bigger community. So with that, how do we continue to champion that? How do we model the fact that each person matters? How do people recognize that they matter?
Yeah. Well, and I think this time of year is a great time to be asking those questions. As we see a lot of different opportunities in our community for celebration, this time of year is also a time of hardship for a lot of people.
Right.
And so it can be a very joyous but also very sobering to see the reality of the pain and brokenness that exists in our world.
Right.
So as a start, begin of thinking, what are some areas within me that demonstrate that I matter?
Yeah.
Or maybe what are some ways that I think that I don't matter? And how can I be part of the solution for someone else who maybe has had a similar life experience, or who is invested in the community as well?
Right.
To be able to notice that there is so much opportunity here in 2023.
Yeah.
I am so optimistic. I'm excited. I'm saddened, to be leaving in this part of Hope for Good's chapter, but I'm so excited for what is to come, and we'll have more to share about that later. But I'm so excited because God is doing a new thing.
Yeah, He is.
And
He is.
Just to see that the people are seeing that happen and building upon the works that have happened in the past.
Yeah.
It's part of our history to band together. And I think coming out of COVID and the challenges that has encapsulated our country in the last few years. Now it's time for us to build together.
Yeah. That was our Advent series, was prepare for God to do a new thing. And, in Isaiah it talks about, do you not perceive it, that I'm about to do a new thing, a stream in the desert, right? Oasis in the sand, right? The hottest place on earth is going to have life, right? And talk about getting ready for God to do a new work. So you may say, well, our country's so divided, or our politics are so divided, or the way we view the world is well, that just is an opportunity for that wasteland to be an oasis. Right? Don't we perceive it that God is wanting to do a new thing through you, through me, through our churches, through our organizations?
Right.
Champaign County Hope for Good is really, hey, Champaign County, God's about to do a new thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And that's, if we don't continue to champion that, if we don't embody that, then those things die.
Right.
Right? So it is kind of a motivation, right, for Motivational Monday.
Absolutely.
To champion that cause, that people matter, that the church has something to say about it, that your organization has something to say about it. We believe Jesus has something to say about it, and carrying that forward.
Yeah. And realizing that we're all just one step away from the solution to a problem. And we might be the solution for someone else's challenge that they're facing.
That's right.
And so having that openness and willingness to say, well, here I am. I'm available. I know that I matter, and so do you.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, we all have our stuff.
Yep.
We all have our brokenness and our challenges, but yet God wants to use that to recycle the pain to create something beautiful.
Right.
And, with Hope for Good, we've met a lot of physical needs. We've built wheelchair ramps.
Yep.
We have done grab bars for people in showers, and we have done a lot of work on houses and cars and connected people with resources, and those are all great things. But at the end of the day, we notice that all those things will pass away. And as a result, those things help us to be able to navigate and to be able to articulate to people that ultimately having an eternal hope is what makes it all worth it. So
That's right.
we're just glad to be in this community.
Yep.
To be serving along all of those who are serving, and those who aren't.
Yeah. Well, Adrian, that's awesome. Thank you for being a part of this for a year and a half-ish, almost 2 years. And we know that Hope for Good is in good hands because of the connections that have been made, the web of resources that have been connected over the last several years is just the beginning of the next chapter, the next season for God to do new things. So thanks for being a part of it. You're not going far in our community. You're still going to be around. Just be in community with us here, and we're excited about that in your next new season. And we're excited for your next new season as well, as you go forth on this Monday morning knowing that God has a purpose for you, that you matter, and that you have the opportunity to carry that into someone else's life and remind them that they matter. So we love you, we pray for you, and we'll see you next week.
Absolutely.